All right, everybody, welcome to the second episode of the Gressel Special. This was a great conversation with Paul Arriola and Yamil Asad. We had a lot of fun talking about different things. Tune in. Here it is. All right, welcome everybody to the Gressel Special episode number 2. I'm joined by Paul Arriola and Yamil Asad. Thanks, guys, for coming on the show and being part of it. First off, I guess, how are things going during this quarantine time? How are things going? Yamil, I guess I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, Julian. I'm here in home with my doggy, spending a lot of time, but focus on the next step.
That's awesome. Thanks for doing this interview as well in English. This is a
Yeah,
big step for you. I know you're a little bit nervous, but
yeah,
that's
it's my
awesome. So
first
we
time.
got Paul. We got Paul to help you out a little bit. Paul,
Yes,
how are things
yes.
going with you? Obviously, you have the injury to deal with as well. How is that status on that, and how is your life at home going?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Thanks for asking, and obviously, thanks for having myself on and being a translator for Yamil maybe at times. It's been good. It's been good. I really can't complain. I'm still allowed to go to therapy, which is a bonus for me to be able to kind of one get out of the house and also two kind of continue in the right direction with my knee. But yeah, definitely everything's been pretty smooth so far, and kind of just enjoying the time at home. Hanging out with the dogs and the girlfriend.
Yeah, good. I saw the videos on social media how you're 2 months post surgery now, right? We're seeing you work out with the mask is a bit different, I guess.
Oh man,
But
it's
it looks pretty
annoying.
good. I bet
Yeah, I
it
mean,
does. I bet it does.
it might look good, but it definitely doesn't feel good wearing the mask and breathing in your own air every time.
Oh, it doesn't even feel good. With this beard, it's so itchy underneath there whenever I go grocery shopping or something.
I
It's
want this.
annoying,
I
but
want this year.
you don't know. Yeah, I know. You shaved it all off.
Yeah.
There's not much
That's
there
the
for
look.
you. Yeah. All right, let's jump in a little bit here. Yamil, I want to speak to you a bit about your time in Argentina, how you played for Vélez your whole time there, and then how was that for you? And then obviously, what made you want to come to the United States, and how big of a role did Tata actually play? Obviously, he was a coach at Atlanta for us at that time.
Uh, yes, I have played for Vélez my whole life in Argentina, but uh, in that moment I wanted to change the other space. Try to try myself in other place, and then Tata called me and give me the propose the offer, uh, and I didn't think 2 times. Was amazing for me because he's a great coach in Argentina. The people and the fans love him. He's very respect for the player.
Yeah, that's great. Before Tata called you, did you hear about Atlanta United before?
No, no,
No.
never ever.
So it was all Tata basically at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. I
That's
think
awesome.
it made me feel important at the first time. In the first goal,
Yeah.
and that is very important for us, for the player, that this coach call you and make you feel good is amazing.
Yeah, that's great. That's a little awesome story there. I mean, Paul, for you, I guess it was you obviously grew up in Southern California, right in San Diego, and went to the Galaxy Academy, but then decided to once you kind of went the pro route, decided to not play for the Galaxy anymore, and then you went to Mexico. So take me a bit through that time and what went into those decisions.
Yeah, there was a lot to go into the decision that I made in going to Tijuana instead of staying in Los Angeles. A short summary of it is I was a part of the Galaxy Academy when I was 17 years old, and my goal was to be a professional. I had already determined what I wanted to do and how I wanted to go about it. And I really thought that the Galaxy would be the place that I was going to sign my first professional contract. the only thing that stood in my way was Bruce Arena. And it was obviously the best thing that happened to me. And Bruce was the coach at the time. I had went through preseason with them. I had just turned 18, and it was a time that Landon had just came back from his little time off. Robbie Keane was there, Giossi was there, Hector Jimenez. And there was a lot of firepower still in that team. And so Bruce, one day during the preseason, he told me, he said, look, we know you want to be a professional, we want to keep you, but the reality is if you sign this contract, you're probably going to fight for some reserve minutes, and we're going to take it by there, by year, and kind of look forward to next year and see, where you stand along the competition lines, with the front players. And for me, that was the best thing that could have happened to me. Of course, in the moment, I was sad, right? They offered me a contract. Definitely wasn't one of the best contracts, but at that point, I was ready to bet on myself going to Mexico, and kind of getting more of a development toward it, right? At the time, there was only a reserve league in the MLS, which was, I think, 12 games a year.
Yeah.
And I was about to graduate from, the U18 academy. So the only games that I would really be looking at were friendlies and 12 reserve games a year. And for me, the development, it wasn't enough. And it definitely wasn't about the money or anything like that. It was more on how can I continue to be a better player. And at that moment, Tijuana seemed to be the best decision based on the under 20 league and obviously the first division. And so I decided to go down to Tijuana in June 2013, signed my first contract, and then there was a brand new coach. So luckily,
Okay.
I was able to go to preseason with the first team right away, and I was able to impress the coach, and I stayed with the first team ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds a lot like me, a little bit. Obviously different ages, but where I kind of took a chance as well. I kind of bet on myself, and then came to Atlanta with a new coach and a new club to kind of
Yeah.
go and really try and make the best out of the opportunity you've been given. You were obviously pretty young when you signed your professional contract. You said it yourself, you were 18. So how was that crossing the border every day? Did your parents go with you? Were you by yourself? Kind of what was it like?
Yeah, in the beginning, I obviously had my parents drive me across when I first signed my contract. I had my parents drive me across. We literally drove in. We got to the stadium, signed the contract, and then drove right back. At the time, it's very common for a lot of Americans and Mexican Americans to go down and cross the border every day. But for me, it wasn't. And I wasn't really used to that growing up. It was a little more dangerous than people would have liked it to be. So it was definitely an interesting experience. And then, once I started to get the hang of it, I would obviously go by myself, and it was the best, right? You get to live the best of both worlds, live in the United States and play in a different country, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. I speak to Leandro Gonzalez Perez, the guy we played with him together, Yamil. He plays for Club Tijuana now, and I've spoken to him a little bit, and he does the same thing. He lives in San Diego and drives across the border every day. That's pretty neat, but I'm sure it's pretty scary to start with once you're 18 and you've signed your first deal and everything. So kudos to you.
You don't
That's
speak
pretty
Spanish.
awesome. He does, yeah.
Definitely.
So we'll go back to Yamil. I hear you're Mr. First Goal, basically. You scored the first goal for Atlanta United. Obviously, I was a part of that. I was on the field that day as well, which was an awesome feeling for me. It was such a cool moment, I think. Talk to me about that goal and what it felt like for you.
The first goal in Atlanta was magic, like the first goal here in our field. Both time was unbelievable because the first one was the first goal of the history of the club, and I'm here with the guys. My sister was here when Rooney waiting for me to give me a hug in the corner in the celebrate. Was amazing. But yeah, like very good memories.
Yeah, the one in Atlanta, I just saw that again the other day, and it's always awesome to see. I always get goosebumps, and I always get so excited after seeing that goal.
And you see that the goal is coming Yeah,
Yeah, we actually have the first goal at out of field. So here, if you guys watch the goal,
Fisher
pretty good goal.
denied by De Jong. Takes a favorable DC on ricochet. Stieber. This is a
Woo!
That's lucky.
Qué golazo! Qué
What a goal.
golazo! Man, what a goal!
He scored the first goal of the season.
Look at Felipe in the other team.
Paul was right next to you as well. Yeah, Paul was right next to you as well. Paul, what did you think in that moment?
I think the celebration was better than the goal. Even I'll tell you that. I don't know. I can't remember why he did the celebration, but I just remember he put a little fin up or something.
Like a shark.
Yeah, it was the shark. Yeah,
it was the best, man. It was the best. No,
Yeah, I talked with my friend the last night before the game, and he told me if you score, you have to celebrate that way. Okay.
That's great. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That was one of the best goals I've seen. I mean, and that to be your first goal. Yeah, you missed the first goal, I guess.
Even in
pretty sweet.
In the season was the first goal, but I think in that game the most beautiful goal was the Mr. Paul Arriola. The second one,
yeah,
tiki taka, one touch, two touch. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That's great. That's cool. I actually don't have that goal. I don't think we can show that, but I don't remember that goal either. So it couldn't have been that great. That's awesome. But Paul, for you, so you actually in 2016, right? You made your debut for the national team. I think that's a pretty cool story to tell there, and you had a really good game that game as well. Tell me about that game, how it was for you.
Yeah, luckily, I was coming off a season with Club Tijuana that I had done pretty well. I had kind of started to really establish myself in the league as far as a guy who gains a lot of minutes, and it was right before Copa America, so there was a lot of players still. It wasn't a FIFA date, so they still weren't released. So Jurgen Klinsmann decided to call up a lot of young players to kind of combine with the players who I think were in MLS. And oh no, it might have been the players who were from Europe. The MLS players were still in season, so they weren't released. And so we had a friendly against Puerto Rico, and I remember getting the call, and I was extremely nervous. And the camp went great. We were in Miami for a little bit, and we really got to kind of enjoy Miami, but at the same time, show up to work and kind of prove yourself, which was an amazing experience. And then we went down to Puerto Rico, and I remember the day before the game, Jurgen Klinsmann said, "Hey, I think you've done really well. I want to start you, but I know you play right midfielder, but I want to start you as a forward." And so I said, okay, of course I'm super excited. I'm also nervous because dude, the last time I had played forward, I can't even remember, and so we went down to Puerto Rico, and he said, don't worry about it. And the guys at the time were extremely supportive, and I played alongside Bobby Wood. And fortunately, I was able to get an assist to Bobby Wood because I gave it to him at half field, and he dribbled past everyone and scored. So they gave me an assist for that. And then I was able to score in the end. I almost blasted it over, but it still went in, and it still counted, which was awesome. So yeah, it was obviously an amazing experience and something that I don't forget, and obviously will last a lifetime, and really boosted my career in another direction.
For sure. I mean, that's a great debut, but you've obviously gone through the whole U.S. men's national or youth teams, right, in the national team stages. So was it kind of just like a matter of time for you to happen until you get called up, until you get that really first cap in with the full team, or was it still really, really special for you?
No, it was a moment that I, before that I didn't really expect. I in 2015 I was part of the U20 team, and because I was playing in Mexico, I wasn't, I started to see more players get called into, January camps and different camps like this that were strictly MLS. And I was never able to attend any of those because being in Mexico and obviously the way that the season is set up. So for me, it was just kind of like, well, let me just keep working. Let me just establish myself. Let me just focus on what's now, right? And kind of let me become more of a regular starter in the league. And then hopefully, eventually that's my goal. And obviously my goal is still to play in a World Cup and represent the US. So, it was an extremely special moment. I'll never forget it, and the goosebumps that you kind of feel. And I remember it was like 90 something degrees on the field and the grass was like this thick. It was definitely a special moment.
That's great. That's great. I hope that obviously you can fulfill that dream in a World Cup as well. That would be awesome. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's turn a little bit to personal life. Yamil, I saw him in the background there earlier. I saw your dog, right? Who you just spend time with during obviously this quarantine a lot, and then even without that. His name is Simon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
His
the
name
picture.
is
Look at him. Yeah. Yeah. Look at him.
You can't believe that. My haircut.
It's great.
Yeah.
Your haircut. Yeah, that's new as well. We should talk about that too. But let's stay with Simon for now. There's an app you show for the first few weeks when we were in the locker room. Every time we were done with training and we were done with like the showers and just about to go to lunch, you always had your phone out. You sit next to me in the locker and you have your phone out and you watch your dog bark at whatever he barks at. It's hilarious. And then you showed me how you can throw out the treats and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. But yeah, he seems like an awesome guy, and you guys seem to get along really well.
Yeah, I have to give him every time a trip because I think he hates me. he doesn't want to see me again ever. But he's good. He's funny. I mean, it's hard for both, but he's good. He's a good dog.
That's awesome. Paul, you got a couple dogs as well, right? Same kind as Yamil?
I do. No, they look very similar, but they're pugs. His is a French bulldog.
Okay.
They're so similar, but the only difference is the ears go down. Like Simon, his ears stay up, and the pugs, they just flap.
That's great. I mean, I didn't get that memo. I have a mini Labradoodle, so that's a completely opposite direction there.
I know.
But I also saw, Paul, we also have a picture here of, you have a YouTube channel with your girlfriend?
Oh, boy.
With Akela and Paul? What's that all about? Tell me about that one.
She, obviously it's tough at times. Right now she's currently not working. So for her, it's kind of a hobby that's very fun and creative. And obviously in today's social media world, there's a YouTube presence. And so, I let her kind of make the moves on that. And, she loves it. We haven't done a lot of videos. She actually told me today that she wanted to keep doing them. So that's part of my duty as a boyfriend to make her happy and obviously happy. They say happy wife, happy life, but for me, happy girlfriend, happy life. So it's it's fun. It's fun. It's obviously different. Like I said, it's something that's different. That is a hobby. She does a great job at really like kind of doing everything and editing and going through all the hard work of what people don't see. So it's a cool thing. Yeah.
Just to end this episode, we obviously have always a little Wrestle with Gressel segment where we kind of discuss certain topics that are relevant at the moment. And I saw something the other day on social media that kind of interested me. Obviously, to bring it up to you as well, Paul, was what a combination of Liga MX and MLS would look like into one big North American league. Obviously, I don't want to get into the whole business side of it. That's obviously for other people to decide. But we as players, right, if that were to happen, what would it be like for us as DC United, for example, to be part of that league and then have to go down to Mexico and play some of those games? How are the fans? What would the travel be like? Is it any different than what it is now, or kind of what do you think that would look like?
Yeah, it's pretty similar in the sense of travel. I think the fans, of course, are great. For a lot of the clubs, very very similar to the MLS. And I think it would create more of a rivalry. To be honest, obviously, I think it's no surprise that a lot of Mexican supporters and people who support Mexican clubs, they hate MLS and they hate Americans, and it's just the rivalry of US and Mexico. And so I think it would definitely be a little more interesting. And I also think from a player's perspective and from a team's perspective, it gives us a little more insight. It would give us a little more insight on kind of where our clubs stand in comparison to the Mexican teams, without getting into, like you said, all the business and kind of that type of stuff. But it would definitely be a different challenge. I think it would be obviously weird to kind of have the two countries come together and create one big league. But I think it would be a great test and another type of measurement for us to kind of see where MLS is compared to Liga MX.
Yeah, Yamil, you were laughing there. What do you think about it?
No, I was hearing Paul, but I agree with every single word of him. But I think Mexican clubs are a little bit more higher, talking about the fans, because how they live the soccer, the football. But in the level of each league, I think it's really really close.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting too. I think it would be cool, but obviously maybe that's years down the road. Who knows? I know there've always been talks about it on and off, and I just think it would be. I mean, obviously I've played in CONCACAF Champions League, so I've gone to Mexico. We played Monterrey, so we obviously didn't do so well there. But I think it would be an awesome experience, even for me as a player, just from a player's perspective, to get to know that league and get to know that level and the fans there. And like Emil said, I think the people live the soccer a bit more than they do in the US, where they have a bit more to choose from here. But I think it would be a neat little thing. But I guess we'll see if it happens or not.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for this episode. This was awesome to have you guys on. Yamil, amazing job with the English. That was almost better than Paul's.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Awesome. I know that is funny for you, but was amazing for me. It was amazing. It was my first time, and pretty good.
Yeah, from now on, only English. All the recordings, only English.
I love that.
Perfect.
Okay, let's see.
That's great. All right, guys. I appreciate it. Stay safe during this difficult time, and obviously all the best with the rehab, Paul. And hope to see you guys soon. And so we can get back on the field and keep playing.
Thanks for having us, Jules.
Yeah. See you guys.